Hello and welcome to today's stream. My name's ArbieG and we are here with Gr.4 Sprint Series Round 2. Looking forward to today's races. I'm joined today with my fellow co-commentator, Denchurion, or Al, or whatever you choose to call him. Hey Al, how's it going?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, I'm excited to be back. Last week was some incredible racing.
2 weeks in a row, Al. It's almost like you wanted somewhere.
That's never true, but thanks for trying.
That's alright.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to see what happens. I mean, last week was unpredictable, all over the place, and great fun to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to more of the same.
Yeah, so we're round 2 of the sprint series. So we've got 3 races today. Unfortunately, I didn't do my due diligence as a commentator and ask people how many laps it is and stuff. So I assume we'll find out on the day. We've just got to roll with it. So yeah, we're just in practice at the minute. We're looking at starting up the qualifying at 8:30, which is about 10 minutes away from now. So if you're watching this after the fact, that's how long it will take. We've got Mohammed in chat, who's actually on track today. So hey Mohammed, thanks for dropping in with us, mate. Good luck with the race today. Shall we have a look at the standings, Al, after last week?
Yeah, let's have a little gander.
So those are the standings from last week in Tier 1 Gr.4 Sprint Series. So this is how we're looking at the end of round 1, start of round 2. We've got Legion in first place with 83 points. Then we've got Mohammed with 79 points. Lankster just behind in 76 points. Oscar Zero 71 points. Brett with 69. Rabid with 67. Simo 66. Tom with 61. Alango in 9th place 61 as well. Beaver Boy with 56. And then going into 11th place we've got Art Ediovis. I'm always not sure if I'm saying that right. 54. We've got Fraser at 54 as well. Elite and Elsie with 53, joint 13th, and we've got ArbieG down in 15th place. So those were the tier. That was it for Tier 1 from the end of the races last week. We'll probably have a couple other characters on track, such as you spotted one before, didn't you, Al?
Yes,
Oliveira.
Yeah, so TOR,
which I assume is he must be part of a team, another team or something who's coming to take part in the races, so he'll be jumping in today. He's actually sitting on the fastest lap, so he might be one of our front runners there. So we should have a few different characters today, but by and large we should have all the usual suspects. Legions after last week. Who are we putting our money on for this week? Al, predictions. Who's going to be? I want your race winners. So who's going to be ending with a race win in either 1, 2 or 3? And I want your dark horse of the race. Who's going to take us by surprise? I'm going for 1 win for Mohammed, 1 win for Lankster, and 1 win for Legion. Those are my 3.
I mean, it's a very solid shout. Mohammed was always up there in the leaderboards for every race, so he's right on that cusp of nicking 1. Legion and Lancaster were great drivers in the last race. I think you've got your money cut out for you. I'm going to say race 1. It's more of an open race, and in those open races, I haven't seen anyone match Legion yet.
Well, I mean, we've also got this new guy on the block, Oliveira, which we can only go off the practice time. We can see here, and at the moment he is running the fastest. I know Legion and a few others haven't gone out, but if we look at the time gap, he's a good half a second up on Mohammed, and Mohammed was pretty well matched with Legion in terms of pace last week. So it'll be interesting to see what slant he puts on this week. I've gone with what I've said, which was Lankster, Mohammed, and Legion, but I haven't taken into account this Oliveira. So
I had him winning the 3rd one.
So I wouldn't ask you to predict which races individual people win, because that's just going too far. But who's going to be people who are going to be? It could be 1 person, it could be 2, it could be 3 people. Who's going to be winning today's races?
So I'm going to say Legion, Oliveira, and I'm going to throw one's always going to be a wild card.
Okay.
And I am going to say for today, because he is the ultimate wild card, I'm going to say Elite.
Elite, the ultimate wild card. Spin the wheel,
and
you'll find out where he'll finish. Yeah, he is actually the host of this
Okay.
series, so he should be in pretty much every race, as far as I know.
I just couldn't see him on the leaderboard. I went, that is a dark horse. Person not even racing.
Okay, so I think certainly the top, 3 to 4 are not set in stone, but I think we're going to be pretty sure who those characters are going to be in those top, 4 or 5 spots. I'd say. I think really it's going to be a bit of a secondary race for 5th, is what I'm calling it at the minute.
Last week was that tight pack in the middle that was providing a lot of entertainment.
I'm going for a Rabbit to be one of those people leading that pack, and possibly Lango as well, who you can see here is setting a good time, is actually the guy we've got on screen at the minute. Elite Legion saying Elite should be a good choice. Yeah, he is the dark horse of every race. Like I said, I've seen him. He's got pace on him, but I think sometimes maybe he struggles with the consistency.
That's why he's always a good wild card, because he's got it in him. He's got that pace. If he can just lay down lap after lap with that good pace, he's always in for a shout. And I think Mohammed he's been on the back wheel of every front group that I've seen him racing so far. So he's whiskers away every single time from taking a win. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him top the leaderboard, but he's definitely going to be one of the usual suspects up at that top group.
So in what is being a bit of a commentator's friend here, we have no tyre wear or fuel consumption to worry about, so we're not going to be thinking in terms of strategy and pits. These sprint races are purely about pure racing, and I haven't actually mentioned track today. We're racing at Laguna Seca, a nice track, a bit of a mixed bag I find for me personally. Can be quite technical in some areas, but you also got some nice long straights and some sweeping turns as well. So when we're looking at the track here, Alango and the 2 turns he's come down to are sort of prime overtaking opportunities. Then you've got the really tight, famous downhill chicane, which actually he's heading towards now. So we'll follow Lango on that, and we'll get on board with him, have a little view of the track, and this is the famous turn in Laguna Seca, where you just really tight downhill section chicane. Can be really sometimes quite challenging to navigate, considering the verge is blind, which makes it quite hard to see. And
definitely an interesting zone to watch out for.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing a little bit of a humpy bumpy, which I assume is a proper a racing term happening through that turn in. But I think we should be seeing, going down this what is probably the longest straight in the race. We're probably going to see a lot of attempted overtakes going down into turn 1, which is this really tight hairpin here.
Yeah, see that straight is either side of it is pinted by some sharp turns, which means if you can get a good entry and exit into those turns, then that straight is going to be make or break.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good brain-picking question for you. If you was racing, which manufacturer would you guys go for? Which one would I go for personally if I was racing this? Oh, that's a good question. I'd probably go with the Corvette. That's only because I like the Corvette, and I'm probably going to go with them in the next manufacturer series. But in terms of which car would have the advantage on here, I wouldn't even be able to hazard a guess. Especially with the recent changes on the BOP, which I've not really caught myself up against. So we're actually following Alango here, who's in the Aston Martin Vantage, which was the manufacturer I chose in the previous FIA season, which I really enjoyed racing the Aston. Really fun car to race. You have to be quite heavy on the brakes, and it's quite a heavy car, but it's got some power all behind it, and you can really pick up some speed. That's what I found racing this. Josh, looking forward to Reverse Good again this week. Thanks for all the praise last week, Josh. You're welcome completely, but quite honestly, I'm trying to link your name to the person on track, so if you're still in chat, drop in who you are, and then I can establish that a link in my head. I want to say Beaver Boy, but because he had a good race.
Yeah, that's what I was going to hazard a guess at, because we did give him a lot of praise last time.
Maybe a little bit too much, eh?
Yeah, I think it's
Maybe
all
this
gone to his
week
head.
we need to be scathing, you know,
I
harsh,
think,
harsh critique.
Yeah, Josh has confirmed Beaver Boy is who he is, so now we know who to pick on now.
Ah, that's it.
So let's critique everything about his driving.
And we can call him by his real world name as well.
But yeah, he did have a fantastic race, and so deserved the praise. So let's see.
That's it.
And we will give it if you can repeat it this week.
Exactly.
Someone to live up to. You will get the same praise if you can pull out another good performance like that. Because it was the second race, I think, where he absolutely held on for
the reverse grid.
Let's say 90% of the race. I think it finally came about 4th or 5th. With some excellent defensive driving.
I was really sort of hoping he would have went forward and snatched first, because he was there for a good first half of the race, and then obviously I tapered off a little bit towards the back end. But I remember it was him and I want to say, was it Fraser as well who's having a fight?
It was Fraser, yeah.
Him and Fraser were having a good old fight at the top for a good sort of first half of that race, and then I think Fraser tailed off a little bit, and obviously it gave a Beaver Boy a bit of room. But yeah, they both had a really good race, and they both ended up finishing the race in really nice places. So let's see if anyone takes us by surprise. But the qualifier has just been triggered, so we will jump on board of that when that kicks off, providing there's no technical hiccups from the gods of GT Sport. We'll wait and see.
Have we done our sacrifices correctly? Let's find out.
So, as ever, first person out is the host, Elite, as he makes his way out of the pit. Don't know why it's gone to this view for. I was right, because it's the view it does on the pit exit, which is a very long pit exit, actually.
That is an incredibly long pit exit. So let's see what you can pull out, and it's because what we found was the fastest lap in these qualifiers. They did have a good indication on who was going to be up there, but they really didn't. Those fixed positions for who came and where in the qualifying didn't put them anywhere in the actual races.
So I'm gonna follow first lap. I think I'm gonna follow Mohammed first lap. I'm gonna follow one of our front runners for the first lap. So we will come on board with Mohammed when it gets to the end of the outlap. We've still got Lango in the pits. I don't know if that's a pit glitch or whether he's choosing to give himself as much room as possible. Yeah, he seems to be coming out now, so he's just giving himself as much room as possible. So people got to be aware of the track limits with this race. I know you can see Elite picked himself half a second penalty. You don't want to be getting that when you're coming into your qualifying. Needs to drop that before he gets to the end of the lap, which he's just dropping off now. If you cross the line during qualifying with a penalty on your shoulder, you will be your next lap will not count. So we're going to follow Mohammed, who's actually going to sit back a little bit himself, actually. So you know what, we might go with someone else. Let's go with Simo for first lap. We'll go on board.
Yeah, always a good shout. But Mohammed had to put him as Mr. Consistency, so it would be a great one to follow in the laps and show you what speed can come out of this track.
We'll stay on board with Simo, who keeps it nice and tight around the apex there, hitting what you have on that turn is really two apexes that you need to hit, sort of the entry apex and the exit apex, which he's done really nicely there. You've got the nice sweeping right hander here, no brakes needed, just a lift off from Simo there to bring them round now to the back two turns, probably the fastest section of the track. Again, a nice sweeping left hander, no brakes required. Lift off and go. This one probably a little bit of a tease of the brake. Shift down and get on that accelerator nice and early up to the tight chicane, which I'm sure has probably got a name, but I'm not versed enough to know it. Hit that first apex nicely, then sweep yourself around, making sure you keep control of the car. Coming through. DeJovis, unfortunately, and Elite have both picked themselves up half-second penalties for breaching the track limit, so it's going to be a hard lap for them too. Going to have to try and do a bit better going to the next one, as Elite actually winds down his penalty. DeJovis does as well, causes a little bit of traffic behind Simo. Probably not enough to slow him up unless he had to brake harder than what he probably would have done normally. Might have had an impact, but Simo comes in now with a 1:27.1, which is the best time at the moment, with Legion coming in a bit faster, 1:26.8. Brett and Fraser coming in 127s. And then we've got LZ coming in 127. Arbie were 131. Tommy were 127. Rabid 128. Mohammed comes in with the fastest time of 126.3. Now we're just going to hop a little bit further back. Let's see if we can get on to Oliveira. And let's see if we can keep an eye on him as he actually come around for his time now. Might stay on board with him for one lap as he's a bit of a new face to the series. Wasn't here last week, and from what I can tell, fast runner. He actually grabs himself second place there with a 126.5. So about 1.5 tenths down from Mohammed.
And not too dissimilar to, obviously outside of Oliveira, the new car coming in. Not too dissimilar to what we were seeing last week. Mohammed, Legion, Oscar, Simo, all up in that top 5, top 6 spots, which is very similar to how the grid laid out last week.
I'm not sure if he's not racing tonight, but a Lancaster is one of the ones I sort of thought I'd see up there. I don't know if he's actually racing. Need to have a look through the list in a moment. Looks like we've got someone caught up, maybe a bit of an incident up by the chicane. So we've got someone facing the wrong way. Wasn't able to quite catch that though, but we'll stay on board with Oliveira, who's just getting the yellow flag now for these people who are trying to get themselves back in control here. And he's just holding off, giving people room. And he's kicked himself up a penalty there, so unfortunately he's not going to do it. He was slightly behind on his split anyway. So let's go on board now with Legion. Legion at the sort of midpoint of his fourth lap.
Elite breaking the 126 margin by going 125.955.
Elite definitely coming in, dark horse in it with pole position, sees him up in first place. We'll stay on board with Legion for the end until the end of this lap. See how he's holding it together. He screamed it through there with the Lambo. I assume he's in the Lambo. He is in the Lamborghini. So Lamborghini, very arse happy car. Legion trying to use that to his advantage.
That'd definitely be my choice of car, the Hurricane.
Very hard.
Like
probably one of the probably the hardest car to keep under control. If you know, I race in it to have fun, but I never race in it seriously because I struggle to keep it under control. But if you can control the Hurricane, definitely is a very fast car.
Yeah, I do like a car with a bit of bite and a bit of fight.
So Legion there with a 126.7, so improving up on his time, but he's finding himself back in 6th place now. Brett setting a 127 back there. We're going to go back and look at somebody else. We'll go a bit further back and look at some of the further back people. We're on board at the moment with Fraser, who's actually in the back of a pack at the minute. He's run his best time as a 127.3, so he's about 3 tenths behind Djovis behind him. He's got LZ breathing down his neck behind him, so it'd be good for him to set a good time with the remaining laps. Remember, we've got no tyre wear or anything, so there's nothing to worry about in terms of the times dropping off or having to get a new set of wheels on. You just keep trying to hit those most aggressive racing line you can and get through the turns as fast as you can, which is possibly the entire point of racing. Ow. Get through the turns as fast as you can.
It's not just the turns, it's the straights as well. You also want to get down as fast as you can. It's a combination of the both.
So we'll wait until we get the next split time, see if Fraser is up on his time. He actually runs himself a little wide there. Definitely going to get himself a track penalty. Misjudged that one completely. He's actually 3 tenths up as well, so we should see that penalty come through in a second. But yeah, this isn't going to be one for Fraser. So let's go on board now with Brett. Brett just coming to the end of his lap. Best time so far is a 127 flat. Let's see if he's got anything to improve here. Legion improving his time as well, 126.5. We'll go and have a look at the top shortly. No improvement there from Brett with a 127.4, so still a little bit off. Let's just have a quick drift a bit further back and just have a look at some of the guys a bit back because we want to make sure everyone gets a bit of coverage. Rabid, current best time is a bit hard to tell because he's obviously gone in, exited and come out again, coming on his first fast lap since he's been out again. Looks like his best time's in the 129 range. As he's about midway through his lap at the minute. Elite still holding pole position. Mohammed actually improving his time now at 125.9. Still off Elite, but only by like, you know, a whisker. Very, very small margins there up top between Mohammed and Elite. With a new
Oliveira
time.
coming in with a very, very close timings as well. So that top 3 is separated by margins.
If anyone can break off one more tenth and get into the 0.8s, then they're going to be getting a pole position. It's definitely going to keep an eye on them coming to the end of the qualifying session with about 6 minutes left overall. We're following Rabbit at the moment, who by the current state of things would find himself in last place if it was to finish here and now. Trying to set himself a better time than what he's done so far. Comes around to the last turn, holds it together nicely, using the TCSEs he's got turned on to his advantage there to go on the accelerator earlier than most people could. And he does improve his time there with a 127.7, so well done there for Rabbit. Finds himself up in 12. Let's go up a bit further back up the pack, and let's just we're just going to stay on board for Oscar Zero whilst he crosses the line, see if he makes an improvement here. Current best is a 126.4, almost a 5. And let's see what he does now. He's coming definitely off there, good 2 seconds off his pace. So let's go back up the top. Let's see how Olivier is doing, who's just coming. He looks like he's in the pause menu actually, so not anything to look at there for Olivier. Mohammed must have had an off on the last race with a 142, so definitely not getting into his 25 bracket he knows he can do. Elite, obviously.
Look at those margins between the top 3.
Very tight. Very tight. So we'll go with someone who's perhaps a bit further on in the track. We've been on board with Legion. Let's go with Brett, which I know we went on board with Brett once, but it was only towards the end of the lap. So let's give Brett a bit of exposure. His current best is 127 flat, so good time there. About half a second behind Legion. So Brett should be pretty pleased with the current situation at the moment. And just wants to maybe push himself to see if he can get up and climb himself up into the next tier, if you will, which are these top 6 that are sitting just in front of him. Let's see how he does here. He's in the 130s. He is well off the pace here, so definitely not time there. Rapid coming in with a 127.3, so he's improved his time again. He should find himself probably in about 10th or so. Actually, he's still in 12th place, so didn't actually improve his time. Mohammed had just about come over the line again. Let's see how he does. Is he anywhere near his 125 range, which doesn't look like he's quite there. A little bit behind. So not from there. Tom putting in a 126.8, so great time there from Tom. Legion still sort of languishing down in 6. You'd expect to see Legion a little bit higher up. So let's follow Legion for the back end of this lap. He runs himself a little wide there. And unfortunately that's probably going to kill a bit of his pace through the uphill section.
Yeah. Because what you normally do expect from Legion in these qualifyings is the one quick lap and then a few dodgy around it, which does put him a bit lower in the grid. But he always has that one lap in him, which we haven't seen yet.
Not so
because he should be up with Elite Mohammed and Olivier in those sort of times.
Yeah.
But at the moment he's lacking a little bit in that
there's
edge.
only half a second in it. I mean, it's really top of those closest 6. You know, Legion's on a 126.5, which is only half a second away from that first place spot. So a good lap, and he could feasibly grind himself up there and find himself up. There's only a few temps he's got to find as he runs in a 128.4 there. So definitely not a great lap. He did lose it a little bit on the exit on that turn before the chicane. So unfortunate for Legion there, not to be his day. Let's go on board with Simo, who we watched at the start. Best lap so far, 126.4, so 4.5 temps down on best. Oxford Zero coming in on 126.417, so sees himself as just in front of Simo, so Simo's got to do a little bit of work to get that position back. Let's see how he's doing in the splits as he comes through there. Didn't seem to quite get the apex as neatly as you would hope, so he might be a little bit off it there. Hit the apex nicely on that one though. And let's see where he's at when it comes to the split times and see if he's up on his best. As he comes through to the downhill chicane, keeping it nice and tight to both of the apexes. Lovely through there. So he's 4 temps up.
Olivier cutting into that 25.
So he has got in
margin.
He has managed to find that little bit of time. Olivier currently sits in pole position behind Elite, who's currently sitting in pits. I don't know if he's going to come out and get one more lap in. It's especially since now Olivier is sort of taking that top spot, or if he's just calling it a day there. Olivier is actually another 10th up on his time, running a purple section, depending if Arbie catches him, slows him down a little bit. There is a bit of a gap between them both, so you'd hope not, but it might happen here. Arbie's done a very, very nice thing there by coming completely off track. Appreciating that he's got a faster runner behind him, so great track awareness. And Olivier has lost it there, unfortunately pushing a little bit too hard. He's on a purple there, but we don't have Elite out on track at the minute. He's just kind of sitting in pits, so Mohammed really is kind of probably going to be the person that we stick with for coming around to this last lap now. So Mohammed's last lap. He's got about a half-second gap between himself and the pack behind, between Oscar Zero. So we'll stay on board with Mohammed as he's coming through the tight hairpin, taking that nicely. In again, both of those apexes really well. I didn't actually see the chat, but someone called Speedbird did a shout out to Rabid. So shout out to Rabid from about 4 years ago. Runs himself a little wide there, but holds it together. I don't know if that's going to have an impact on his overall time. Let's see what he's like as he comes through the split times, and if he's off it, we'll jump on board with somebody else, as Tom has run himself wide in front of him, as you can see there. He's kept himself off just to let Mohammed through.
Yeah, I think to hit that 25.8, you've got to almost be pixel perfect in these runs. So I think even that slight slip off for Mohammed, which wouldn't normally be a problem, might just dip him back into the 25.
Done an improvement there, and Simo as well. 126.2 for Simo and a 126.213 just in front for Legion. So Legion pushing himself up to 4th. Didn't actually catch the split time there for Mohammed when he was
plus 0.3, 303.
So he's 3 temps down. So unfortunately, Mohammed's not going to get it. So it looks like we're almost finalising off the grid here. Simo still able, with the time that's remaining, to get another lap in. So Simo and Legion still with a chance to come in here. Olivier still with another lap to set as well. So we'll check if Olivier is up on his time as he's just coming through. Yeah, he's 2 tenths up on his time at the minute, so he might be improving it coming around to the end of this one. So we'll stay on board with him as he's near the end of the lap anyway. Got Beaver Boy just in front of him, has actually come off, but again, just trying to do the right thing and let the faster guys come through. It's with Olivier. Come through there, and what time's he got? A 1:25.6, great time there, really setting the standard.
Wow.
And he's definitely going to be the man to keep an eye on and try and keep up with through this. So Legion still on his final lap, as is Simo as well, coming through the last 2 turns side by side pretty much. Simo, we'll see how he does going through the line, making any improvements or not. It's a good time, but afraid it's not quite there. Legion not able to make an improvement as well. So we should have pretty much everyone through now. Have a flick through, see if anyone's still on their final lap, but we should be at the end of the qualifying session now. Interesting, Elite dropped off a few minutes early. I don't know if he thought he had it in the bag or if he just had to shoot off for a little bit. Elite seemed to drop off a few minutes before the end. He could have got another couple more laps in, see if he could have pushed a little bit harder and nabbed himself that pole. But the results have been confirmed, so we've got Olivier, Elite, Mohammed, Legion, and I believe Simo after that, and then Oscar Zero. So those are our top 6. Then I think Tom, then Brett. But I'm testing my memory there. Be well impressed if I've got that right. Yeah, I got that right. Look at me.
Look at that. You can be proud of yourself there.
No, I unfortunately didn't remember all 15 of them, but there's our grid as we start off today. Roll and start. From the looks of it, with Tor up in first place. I will get the telemetry up before the race starts. Like I said, for some reason it likes to take it off. And we'll try and keep eye on the action early. Roll and start, probably not so much room for carnage in lap 1. There's still room for it. And we're off with today's race. So we've got 6 laps to start us off. Minute and a half a lap, so it's going to be a relatively short race, this one. So this is our fastest first race, and then after that we'll be doing a reverse grid race. So Olivier, Mohammed's already up on Elite, managed to close that gap nice and early, so he's already sitting up on him. Don't want to get in too much of a fight because it's going to give Olivier the chance to really get forward and solidify that gap. let's look a little bit further back, as this angle is really horrible, so let's try and change this angle. We're currently on board with Brett, so not much movement going on so far. Everyone's sort of keeping in their lines, keeping in their packs. A few areas we've bunched up a little bit. You can see here a few areas are bunched up. 34th and 15th sort of bunched up against each other. And we've still got a nice tight pack here. Mohammed's already made the pass on Elite, which unfortunately we missed. He's got the inside line going up to the uphill chicane. Elite still sitting, but he's having to corner cut a little bit there. That's going to cost him in terms of penalty, and it's actually cost him in terms of pace as Legion sneaks up on his inside there and is got himself in third place as Elite goes up the inside, makes a bit of contact there. That was not great. He did put up his
spins him right off.
Yeah, he did put his nose up a little bit on him, but also you know, I think he probably did have race position as well. So a bit of a close one, that one. Bit of a 50-50 more of an incident than anything else. So unfortunately for Elite, that season back here, he's got some work to do to get himself back into that sort of top 3 or 4 spots. So let's go back on board with these top 3. So we've got Oliveira really already making use of his pace, almost 3 seconds up on Mohammed, so he's really going to try and secure first place early on. Mohammed here, second place, about a second up on Legion, so it's the reverse of what's going on last week. I remember last week we had Mohammed behind Legion quite a lot and struggling to find room to sort of make the overtake on him, so it'll be interesting to see it the other way around now, see how that fight pans out. Go a bit further back. With this pack here, we've got Oscar 0, just under a second behind Simo, who's got himself a nice little gap in between both people. Then we've got this pack behind, comprised of Brett and now Elite and Tom just in front of them as well. So you expect Elite to try and push on this pack a little bit and try and get in front of them. So they come through the downhill chicane there, and then we've got a nice tight pack coming through here of Javovis, Lango, Beaver Boy and Arbie, and just looking a little bit further back as well, got another little pack here of Fraser, Rabbit and Elsie having a fight. So we've got our little packs starting to build up, so we'll sort of hop between them and see if we can keep an eye on them and how each of the individual packs are starting to develop. We are getting a bit of spread now between the top 5, although the gap between Legion and Mohammed is being maintained. So we're already halfway through this race. How does that feel? Quick race, this one, especially compared to last week.
Yeah, I was going to say, compared to with these short races, how early is it to start calling a race?
Exactly. Well, I think Olivier, I can't see beyond Olivier for the race win.
Yeah, already 3 seconds, 3 laps to go. No, it's going to be hard to see someone closing down a second on every lap.
Definitely. So Rapid just sitting in behind Fraser, trying to slip it on the inside there, didn't quite get that right. Looks like he's getting a little bit of lag as well there, as experienced a little bit of screen wobble. So yeah, unfortunately not able to make a count there, and Rabbit still find himself down in 14th. Try and look at this little pack here of Dijovis, Lango, Beaver Boy and Arbie, all sort of tightly packed amongst each other. Lango actually looking a little bit up his nose there on the inside, but no harm, pulled out of it ultimately, and is still sitting behind Dijovis, looking perhaps for the opportunity, with Beaver Boy also breathing down his neck. So definitely got an interesting little pack going on here, and I have to admit, this is the position Lango finds himself in here is the position I hate being in. I hate being in the middle of a pack like this, where any movement you make on the guy in front of you, which obviously naturally brings you off the ideal racing line, leaves you completely exposed to the person behind you. So not a nice position to feel like. You can see it there. Lango had to drop off a bit, which gave Beaver Boy a little bit of chance to pull up again. In terms of the top guys, have another look up here. I think everyone's just establishing their position. So Oliveira maintaining that 3 second gap at the top. Mohammed extending his gap a little bit up from Legion, pushing up to 2 seconds now. Legion again extending his gap up on Simo. So really this top 6 are really, I mean, if you look at the top 8, to be honest, they're really expanding out. All of the tight racing is happening at the back here. So let's have a look at keep an eye on the stuff at the back where it is quite tight. And we're on board with Beaver Boy. Let's jump on board. Hood cam, we actually had someone off there. Was that Elite? I think that was. Unfortunately, Elite. Let's see if we can capture that. And see if we can get a replay of that. We'll head on board with him. And if I've done this right, we might be able to capture that before he went off. So Elite found himself spinning just up there and just caught his back wheel. And unfortunately for him, calmed himself off. So I can't tell you how pleased I am that actually worked.
I was going to say, it's terrible for Elite, but I'm so proud of you for nailing that replay. That was fantastic right there.
Thanks. Super appreciate
so I had to I had to split the two because I didn't want to go, that's brilliant. Whilst Elite's been round and round and round.
So Elite again finding himself just struggling with that race consistency. I mean, like you saw it in the qualifier, that man's got pace, you know what I mean? He's got race pace in him, but maybe just at times he pushes himself a little bit too hard, when perhaps you do need to ease back a little bit and realise that you're not going to be able to hit that a perfect apex every single time.
Yeah, because we saw it a couple of times with Oliveira in the qualifier, where he was really pushing for that fast time, but almost pushed himself a bit too much, caught a corner a bit too early.
I think it was the same corner as well.
And off pace. Yeah, and Elite is one of those drivers who really lives on the edge. They're either going to nail their timings or they're going to slip off a bit, make a small mistake, and it's going to cost them.
So Mohammed has managed to gain a second up on Oliveira. There may be a bit of a slip off from Oliveira. You can see his lap 4 time drifting into that 1:27 area, probably holding off a little bit to make sure he doesn't have enough. But Mohammed, you know, I'd say it would still be a struggle for him to finish this race, especially with us coming now to the final lap. But certainly not out of this race by any stretch of the imagination. It's all down to Oliveira just to keep that consistency going. We'll go back to this little tight pack because I'm really interested about what's going on with this pack here, this little tight pack here, because everyone else in front is pretty well spread out outside of people slipping off. I don't think we're going to see much changing happening there. We'll jump back with them as we go to the last third of the race, and we'll go through as we normally do one by one and see people through the line. Lando, about a second gap either side of him, which is a nice place to find yourself in. Beaver Boy with Arbie breathing down his neck still, and just a little bit of a penalty which he needs to shake off before the end of the race, or else he's going to find himself probably dropping back behind Arbie and Elite if he doesn't shake that penalty before the end of the race. So hopefully Beaver Boy can find that opportunity to shave off that time. Arbie looked like he was looking up at the inside there, but certainly didn't have the pace or the room to be able to make that. So we're going to go back up with the boys at the top, and we'll see how that pans out as they come through. But we'll see Oliveira through the finish line, give him the respect he's due for running a fantastic race. You know, securing that pole position and making that first place his, and keeping out of slipstream range, and just having no threat really, just going on, doing some laps, finishing the race. So he bags himself first place, with Mohammed coming in second, followed by Legion now coming in third. Simo finishing fourth, Oscar fifth, Tom now coming down the straight to finish sixth along with Brett, and now this little pack of Art Jovis, followed by Lango, Beaver Boy and Elite, and then we've got Arbie and Rabbit coming through now, followed by Fraser and Elsie capping it off, which was a really tight race. You know, there's not much in it, only 30 seconds between the race leader and the guy in last place, so it might sound like a bit of time, but really it's not, in terms of the pace that was set there. So well done there for Oliveira for taking the first win of tonight. You know, you can't really fault that in terms of race, claiming self pole position and then claiming self to win, so well done there for winning that one.
Yeah, came through a strong race throughout, but Mohammed with the fastest lap and closing down almost 2 seconds towards those last 3 laps, which was, I don't know whether Oliveira took his foot off the gas just a little bit towards the end, or Mohammed really stepped it up, but a fantastic finish to his race.
Let's have a quick look through the lap chart there, so you can see Jovis, who started really high, as actually no, that's Elite dropping off there. You can see that line dropping down from Elite. You can see there flashing, and unfortunately find himself up and again another slip, and he slips that down to 12th, finishes himself in 11th. At the top it remained relatively consistent and flat, you know, with Mohammed and Legion both climbing up. Same with Simo as well, 1 place up, and then sort of remaining quite static. likewise for Oscar and Tom, quite plain races for everyone really in that top 7 bracket. And then from there we've got Art Jovis again, another one who just climbed up 1 place. A lot of them, I think a lot of it's based on elite dropping out. You can see everyone just climbing up 1 place and maintaining the position that they started in really. And that was the story of that race, with Fraser losing out and dropping back behind Arbie about halfway through that race, and Elsie just sort of racing against himself at the back there. So yeah, interesting race overall. I'm definitely going to start using this lap chart a little bit more to tell the story of what just happened, because some things are quite easy to miss in the replay, so we'll start doing that. So yeah, good race for the first one, and congrats to Oliviera, Mohammed and Legion for grabbing that podium. So we're going to be going into the second race now, which is race 2. Race 2 is going to be a reversed. Oh, I tried to join the race there. Not what I meant to do. Going to be a reverse grid of the results of that race.
I mean, these ones are always the ones I look forward to, because it's always a fight and
a lot of action.
People surprise you. Yeah, that's it. It's a lot of fighting, a lot of defensive driving, which backs up the pack, makes everyone a lot more condensed, and yeah, you're gonna see people shifting positions left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
So this is the one where you crack open the popcorn and you just sit
mad
back and
skills
enjoy.
there from Mohammed.
He does like a donut or two.
Does. He was our man doing a donut on the track, keeping the folk entertained.
Yeah, not sure about real life if he partakes in the old donut, but in the car he loves them.
Mohammed definitely seems like a Krispy Kreme sort of man, you know, premium, a donut man. Is that a fat shaming somebody? Because I don't actually know anything about the size of him.
Well, if you like, it's just like Krispy Kreme, it can be any size.
So Legion is putting his money saying Elite will win this one. So it's actually an interesting point about the reverse grid and Elite. So Elite's going to be starting quite high up, obviously finishing up in 12th place. He's going to be starting quite high up around people which, you know, assumably he's got the pace over. So if he can get himself into first place early and secure that, the other front runners are going to find it hard to catch up with him, because they've got a lot more track to get. They've got a lot more traffic to get through in order to get themselves up into those top positions, which will take them a few laps to get through, alongside trying to fight along each other as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if Oliviera can what Oliviera, Mohammed and Legion can do from the back. But we'll start off with the boys up top. So we've got Elsie on pole position, and we'll just reset this. So we've got our car telemetry at the bottom.
I'm not too familiar with Elite in the open road to see as a driver how he drives, so it'll be interesting to see if he can work his way up to the top of the grid and just get that space in front of him. How if he eases off a bit and just focuses on his technique and just making sure he has clean laps every time, because if he does, this is definitely a great shout for Elite, definitely on the podium. But if he keeps pushing for that time, then he could allow everyone else to catch up. So it's going to be interesting to see how he starts this race. Definitely.
So Elsie holding his position quite well. Fraser already losing a little bit of ground to Arbie behind him. And it's already pretty tight.
We've seen him before in this position, and how he fights tooth and nail, and he'll slip back to maybe 4th or 5th, but he'll be up there again. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on in these races.
So we've got Rabid right up behind Arbie as well. So a nice little train there, which they'll be looking to make that move as soon as they can, especially Elite as well. Like I said, feeling like he's probably a little bit behind of where he should be in terms of pace. We've got Oscar Zero just up behind Tom here as well. Looks like he's actually trying to make that move himself. We've already had an off, so we'll try and catch who that was in a moment. Looks like it's Elite, unfortunately, again. It's really, really unfortunate for Elite, where he just keeps finding himself off. But we'll go back and we'll review that, have a quick look, make sure I did it right. So what happened to Elite there as he comes down through? And is it the same turn again that catches him out, pushing a little bit too hard? Catches Sasha's curb, and yeah, he kicked himself out again.
Same place. Yeah.
Same place, unfortunately, for him.
He's going to be frustrated with himself there.
Yeah.
Same corner as his, basically giving him the same result.
I mean, in terms of, it happened early in the race. Lango looks up on the inside there, almost makes a bit of contact with Beaver Boy, but ultimately does the right thing and pulls out of that move. Didn't quite have the race position there.
Beaver Boy's a proven defensive driver, so he's going to be a hard one to take on those corners.
So Elsie still holding up first place really, really well, actually. Then we've got Fraser just sitting in behind him, about a second off. So Elsie doing really well here to hold this on and not lose any ground, but Fraser is starting to grind off a little bit from him now as Elsie drifts a little wide there, but holds it together really, really nicely. Fraser closing down that gap though, just through the loss of traction that Elsie had coming down to the chicane. Is Fraser going to try and make a move and get in front as Elsie loses a little bit of grip going through there, and Fraser gets through a little bit better. Elsie affording him space there. Probably should have gone on the defence a little bit there, but I'm not going to complain at anyone being clean as he finds himself now back in second position. But Fraser now going to try and make it count up top and see if he can push himself up and really make first place his and make some gap to whilst the fast boys are trying to work their way through the packs. But let's go back now.
Especially with that penalty on Fraser, Elsie knows that Fraser will just ease off every now and then to try and cut back on that penalty and hopefully just keep him in contact and just bide his time. So it might have been a smart move by Elsie to let Fraser
looking up
pass.
on the inside of Legion here. Sorry to interrupt you, Al, just seeing an overtake here. And he's going for that. And he's got the track position. And is he going to make it stick, or is Legion going to get him on the cutback? And he's got the inside line here. Really tight racing from these three. Mohammed still not out of it either himself. So really interesting what's happening in the back here. Simo tapers off a little bit. Does Legion run wide there? Yeah, finds himself off, but certainly not out of this race. There's Oliviera as well as coming up through this little pack. Gets in front of the Legion. Some great racing to be watching here. Mohammed leading the pack with Simo following the slipstream, followed by Oliviera, then Legion. Really, really tight racing.
I didn't envy Simo in this position, having to hold off Mohammed, Legion, Oliviera, and the lead. That is a fast, aggressive pack that is surrounding you all of a sudden. So it's been impressive driving just to keep things clean.
So we've lost Legion there, I think. So unfortunately we lost Legion there as we're on board of him. He found himself in last place, but it's an interesting race that we've got going on here. This top pack haven't really been able to get themselves up and push into the rest of the race. They're probably too concerned with trying to fight each other, which is making them slow ultimately. So they kind of need to spread out a little bit, and once they spread out a little bit, they'll start seeing that pace and hopefully start trying to push up the pack behind them, in front of them.
Because I think that's what we saw definitely last week. They were coming up in ones and twos, almost working together and working their way through the pack individually or sort of following each other as a team almost. Whereas today we see an entire glob of that front 5 or 6. Yeah, they've all been battling it out at the back, whilst Fraser, Elsie, and the boys up the front are they're almost increasing their gap there. Yeah.
I mean, you can even see it here, Tom, still with about 1.5 second gap on Mohammed, which he is grinding down, don't get me wrong, but even when they get up to that pack, there's got a lot of work to get through, so it really is this, and you see how much this leading pack has on them. Fraser has come off it a little bit, finds himself now with Elsie half a second behind, and I think this is a really good opportunity for one of the back runners here to get himself a really, really high position, because I mean, we're coming up to about halfway through this race now, and these fast runners at the back are really struggling to get through, which kind of happened. I mean, I was racing in the Mazda Leagues yesterday. We had the exact same situation, so we're in a rolling start, then we did a reverse grid. I found myself like running from the back on a reverse grid, and it's so hard to work through when you've got a rolling start, because obviously, you know, you've got a lot more ground to cover in general. But some really tight packs here. Beaver Boy up in 5th, Lango in 6th, and Brett in 7th, and DeJovis in 8th, and Oscar Zero in 9th. You know, this whole pack is really, really tight. But we've got 2 main packs really, the top lot and the bottom lot. Fraser still holding it up in first place as we are now coming up to the halfway point in the race. Looks like maybe Rapid's falling off a little bit, finds himself a second and a half behind those at the top, but he's already worked that back amazingly. Grounded off a second there, and actually he's already up on Arbie. Gone up on his inside. I thought it looked like he got up on the inside, but he must have pulled out of it. I thought the better of it, so well done there from a Rapid to pull that back, keep himself up with that pack. Looks like there's stuff going on behind though. A little bit of action going on there. Beaver Boy trying to hold on to his 5th place, with Lango making some moves on him. At the back, it looks like we've got a spin out there at the back, so we'll go back and have a look and see what happened there too. It was Tom, unfortunately, so let's just go back and see what happened to Tom as we come through now. Oh, that's the wrong view. I'll get there eventually. Jay, Rob. Jay, there we go.
There we go.
He just caught himself off, and unfortunately there, come himself off the track. Didn't actually catch whether there was someone behind him there that caught him from the rear end, because he did seem to kick out a little bit there. But unfortunately Tom finds himself a little bit out of this race now. Got a lot of work to even catch up with Oliveira, who's also at the back. But like I said, these guys at the back, I mean, you can see some of them actually work their way up a little bit now. So Mohammed up in 9th has managed to get himself up through that pack a little bit. Up on top, we've still got Fraser holding really, really well. So really good race here from Fraser. Elsie as well, holding out really well with 2nd place.
So there are 2 people that, well, definitely one at the moment because Legion dropped out. Was Mohammed is one of those who can fight through a pack, because he's usually hitting 2nd, 3rd, 4th in these races.
Yeah. And
so he's used to having to fight through and fight up at a high pace. So he's adapted this, and I think we're seeing it come through in these reverse orders that Mohammed consistently is a top climber from the back to the front, and he's just overtaken again, moved himself up to 8th.
There's a little bit of contact there between Oscar Zero and Djovis, which Mohammed took full advantage of. A little bit of contact going for the apex, which sort of put, certainly Djovis dropped his pace, and obviously Mohammed taking advantage in there, getting in. As Oscar Zero loses a little bit of traction through there, so it's going to see him losing a bit of pace. Mohammed looking on the outside. Is he going to go up? Is he going to try and make a move on this turn? Probably say not. Might be trying to get him on the cutback here, try to get the better exit speed on him. Oscar Zero. It's a hard turn to do that in. He's holding up well, and it looks like one of our faster runners is going to be working up. As Beaver Boy actually finds himself dropping back a little bit there. It's
been a bit of a fight. I've seen Lang and Beaver Boy's name keep cropping up as 6th, 5th, and 7th. So there is definitely a scrap going up that corner.
Oscar Zero just up behind Lango, who's now leading this little section here. Little group, which I think they'll find it hard in general with the amount of race that's remaining to catch up with that front pack. Fraser still doing really, really well holding this 1st position. Still not out of the woods yet though, with only half a second gap between himself and Elsie. They're kind of trying to make the top 2 positions their own, with about a second gap between themselves and Arbie. Arbie again running a great race himself, keeping up with that consistency, making sure he's just getting his times in. You see those times there, 1:27.2s. They're in the 1:27 ranges here, these guys at the top, so hats off to them, really is. Rabid also up in that top pack, at the back of the top pack, but he's still keeping in there. So definitely big shout out to those guys in that top 4 there. They're all racing a great race and really making those top 4 places their own. Let's have a look at. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, Fraser's one of those who we know is a proven runner out in the front. He's a fantastic driver when he gets his space and he gets his little battles. I think what clipped him up last week was a couple of mistakes that put him back into the fight. And once he's in that fight, I think he struggles a little bit. But when he's up near the top, he really, really puts his mark on things, which is what we're seeing at the moment.
Looks like Elite's had another slip out, because there's a small gap between himself and Tom was quite a way off. So good thing is it afforded a little bit of a fight at the back there, so at least be something to watch for them too. Something for Tom to do. Oliveira having a fight here with Brett on the inside of this turn here. Brett trying to take the outside line, but Oliveira holding that really well and holding on to his 11th position. Back at the top, Fraser still holding that in. with only, you know, coming to the end of this lap when then... Oh, Fraser lost it there, unfortunately. And Elsie, although he did really well to hold it together, and he's still holding his first place. How did he hold that? I have no idea. But he did really...
I don't know how he recovered that fin.
The car was horizontal across the road. He was parking it.
It was physics defying.
Yeah.
I think we need to start looking into his test the urine after the race.
He is some sort of wizard, at least.
I think that's the only proof.
Yeah.
That was absolutely fantastic from Fraser, and to keep hold on to it. So this is going to be interesting 1 and 2 now with Elsie right up the end of Fraser. So
he has maintained that gap up though. You know, back to half a second. That's kind of the range. You know, between a second and a half a second he was drifting at before. And Elsie, you know, these top 3. Anyone in these top 3 can still have this race. But Fraser just needs to make sure he doesn't have any more incidents like that. And look at this little pack behind. How tight is this pack in behind? That's why I keep flicking between the two. With Mohammed now still climbing his way up, and Simo up in there as well. Mohammed and Simo actually side by side coming through here. Mohammed on that inside line, Simo on the outside. Dijova's trying to find his opportunity to get involved as well. A very, very busy pack here, and you can see why those top 4 slots have really managed to make them their own with this sort of compact racing that's going on, with no one really be able to put in any good times because they're all just spending too much time racing each other. I'm sure everyone's having a good time.
That condensed, and I think it all stemmed from when Beaverboy was sitting in 5th. As I said, he's a very good defensive driver, and he spent a lot of time at the head of that pack at 5th.
Yeah.
Almost holding everyone up, allowing that condensed pack to grow, whilst the top 4 did speed up a bit. So I think that probably stemmed to this bunch.
So it looks like Fraser's made a bit of a gap of himself at the top as he's in his final lap now. So Fraser going for the win here. I really hope that he manages to see it through. And he just needs to put in... He doesn't even have to put in his fastest lap he's ever done. He just needs to put in a consistent lap as he finds himself up in first place. Second and a half gap up on Elsie, who's up in second place. He's got Arbie breathing just down his neck with half a second behind him. Rabid about, you know, 3/4 of a second behind them, so certainly could make a move this one, but I think he's likely to finish 4th place. Then we've got this pack here with Oscar Zero at the top of it. He's already moved up. Alango up in 6th, so he's dropped down 1 place from Oscar Zero. Then we've got Mohammed still breathing down that neck, trying to work his way up that pack. He's done actually really well out of all the fast runners to get himself out even up to 7th place in such a tight race. Duovas in 8th place with about a second gap from the guys in front of him. Simo down his neck, back in 9th place. We've got Oliveira in 10th, 2 seconds behind Simo, so definitely quite a way back from probably where he'd like to be. In a bit of a scrap at the moment between Beaverboy, who cuts that corner to make that pass stick. Going to see himself with a bit of a penalty there, which in the last lap's probably not great. But let's see Fraser through and give him all credit due. Congratulations to Fraser, who's going to come through as the winner in race 2, a 10-lap race, so certainly not a small feat, and well done to Fraser. Then we've got Elsie and Rabid. Rabid did really well coming up to 2nd place, didn't actually see when that happened. Then everyone else is coming through now. I'm not going to try and read them out one by one because they're coming through such a tight pack. But that is the end of our race, and unfortunately Elite finding himself off again. Really needs to find that consistency with his racing. I think he had 3 pretty big offs there, but there's our results confirmed, so congratulations to Fraser Rabid. Don't know where that those last passes from Rabid come through to go from 4th to 2nd.
It almost looked like it was Elsie coming through 2nd, and then as he crossed, Rabid came up 2nd. So that was an interesting one there to see. But I mean, Fraser, hats off to him. A fantastic race there. Just to hold on to that split towards the end, keep aggressive, push up and Elsie, pass him, and
I think we've got to give great shout outs to those top 4. I think they did really well. Fraser, Rabid, Elsie and Arbie. Really, really well. So congrats to all 4 of you guys, but obviously special congrats to Fraser for the race win. So let's have a look at this lap chart. It's going to be quite an interesting this one. A lot of movement going through this one. So Fraser, who started off in 2nd, see himself going up above Rabid quite early in the race and just managed to hold it and keep it there for the remainder. Sorry, not Rabid. That's, I assume, whoever that line is. Oh, Elsie, you're absolutely right. Elsie actually looks like he got himself a penalty. I think that's what saw Rabid go up those 2 spots. is the penalties
Yeah,
being served.
That makes sense.
So that's what happened there. So those top four done really well, sort of making that their own. Then going down into that pack, Oscar Zero actually come up from, you can see, really, really far behind. So you can see his line flashing there and slowly worked himself up for the race, making some gains. So really, really good race there from Oscar Zero to come out in 5th for all that gains. Lango as well, coming up from only moving himself one place up from where he started, but still positive race for him. Mohammed, we saw him do really well, and he found himself climbing up this race up to 7th place. Edijovis again on the climb in a few areas and decreasing in some, but he actually finished himself in the same place that he started the race in, so well done there to Edijovis. Simo also making the climb as well, having a few dips and a few areas there where he's gone down, but in general he made climbs and he found himself finishing up in 9th place. Oliveira, challenging race for Oliveira, found himself struggling at the back and struggling to try and use his pace to try and make advantage with so much traffic in front of him, but did make some gains, especially towards the back end of the race, back half of the race, and find himself back up in 10th place. And then we've got Brett, finished up in 11th. A lot of moving from Brett, and Brett unfortunately did move down a few places from where he started, but that's expected in a reverse grid where you expect those people behind you to be able to make those gains on you. Beaver Boy again with some drops. Not a great race for Beaver Boy, starting off in 3rd with a massive drop off, it looks like, in one place. There you can see a lap 7 really wasn't a good lap for Beaver Boy, and actually finished off in 12th. But again, that's this is what you expect to see in these reverse grid race. Tom, bit of a mixed bag for Tom. Had a good first half of the race, and unfortunately lap 5 had a big drop off, and that saw him in last place up until the last couple of laps where he managed to get in front of Elite. Unfortunately, Elite did not have a good race at all that day. You can see there starting off in 1st and making a massive spin off on the first lap. Saw him at the back of the race for the remainder of the lap. He did manage to make a couple of gains, but it looks like he had a slip off again. And that's it. So yeah, great race, and nice to look through the lap chart to see how it panned out. And now we'll be waiting for.
Always interesting to see those laps. You can see the hidden players who did well. I mean, Oscar, you would look at him and go, okay, he did quite well, sat himself in 8th, but that chart shows how well he actually did in climbing. And the same with Mohammed. I mean, we talked about it through the race, but I think that chart really highlights how well some of those guys in the middle pack did just to get to where they were.
So we're doing a fastest first grid again based on the results of the last race, so you can see that's why Fraser and Rabid and LZ are leading out our top 3. Legion's back in again in 15th place. So Legion might have just had to drop out of that last race, so hopefully you can see him making some room and some gains. Forgive me whilst I put the telemetry back on, and we'll stay on board with Fraser. He finds himself in pole position.
This is going to be quite a hard one to call, because it's almost it is almost a similar grid to the last race.
We've got Mohammed a bit further up, so he's going to be a threat to those guys at the top. If Mohammed can do well in those early few laps, he might be able to push himself up into this region. If he can get himself into the top pack, he will win the race. But it just depends how much traffic happens behind him as the race is
I do expect Mohammed to be up at that top towards the end of it. He's a slow climber, Mohammed, but he's consistent, and that's what really gets him the edges in these races.
But don't count out Fraser yet. Fraser, we saw him started 2nd in the last race, held it for the entire race, and managed to hit his consistency enough that he managed to secure 1st place. So not counting out Fraser from this either in terms of actually getting that win in this 8-lap race. A little bit of a tight pack coming up behind as it's bunched up a little bit. But still nothing hugely changing on terms of the position charts at the moment. He run himself a little bit wide there, but certainly not anything bad enough. Top 3 have certainly bunched up a little bit, with Rabid right up behind LC. I think Rabid wants to make an impression on this race, being part of that top pack, but certainly not able to make it work. And we've got Fraser running the Porsche Cayman, with Rabid behind him, which I believe is the Lamborghini Huracan behind him, I believe. Anyone did that? Yeah, he's in the Lambo, so hard car to race with. As you can control it right. We'll drop back to Mohammed, finds himself neck and neck with Lango, just trying to sit in the slipstream at the minute. We've just had Dan drop in the place, and we've had Backspace Chris as well drop in his place. Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for dropping in today. So we've got Mohammed looking like he's going to make that move on Lango there. Gets on the inside, and actually, is he going to make it stick, or Lango going to get back? Looks like Lango's managed to push that back. Mohammed's trying on the cut back again, and it looks like going into this one he's going to have that inside line, and it looks like is he going to be able to make this stick, or is Lango going to be able to find the opportunity to come back on him?
Has there been a slip by Fraser? He's back down in 5th.
Oh, that's really unfortunate. This
Either that, yeah. Suddenly looked up at Rabbit and thought, oh, he's nicked it from Fraser. Couldn't quite see where he is.
Yeah, he's actually had another slip there, but Rabbit now finds himself up in 1st place with a 1.5 second gap. So this is Rabbit's race now if he wants to get it. Elsie just behind him there, finds himself a little bit off the pace, and Oscar Zero actually making a little bit of contact there. I don't know if that was a bit on purpose or not, but that didn't look particularly clean. Oscar Zero just sitting on the outside there. Elsie actually still holding his place, so no harm, no foul, and everyone's through pretty cleanly. Elsie taking that inside line, this is what a Rabbit wants. This is what you want in 1st place. You want the person in 2nd place to go defensive as well, because you can see what's happening here. It's bunching up all the traffic, and it's given Rabbit a chance to extend his gap. You can see Rabbit's now 3 seconds up, so this really is Rabbit's chance to get himself the race win here. Fraser in 3rd at the minute. So Fraser's still certainly not out of this. Mohammed is the one to watch as he's working himself up. Actually lost a little bit of grip there, so lost a little bit of pace, and certainly he's going to drop back a position or 2 there, but he's still keeping up nice and tight amongst the people in front of him. And I've still, for my money, I think Rabbit's probably going to win this race, but I think Mohammed's going to scare the toffee out of him if he can get through this little pack.
Mohammed's sitting in a great place for him. He's right on the edge of a bit of an open gap, so if he can get out in the open, he can really open up and show his pace that he has that, and that consistency which will lap after lap close the gap on Rapid. So if he can break out of this pack soon, then we might see Mohammed go into Jaws mode, under the water, hunting down. But if he gets held up in this pack, then it's Rabbits all day long.
So we're on board with Simo there, didn't get through too cleanly, made a bit of contact with Fraser from behind there, and actually knocked Fraser off a little bit and put him off. And Fraser's still suffering from that now, finds himself back in 13th, so really unfortunate for Fraser. Simo there making the contact from behind really did not do Fraser any favours whatsoever there. Let's go back and have a little look at the back of this pack here. So we've got Fraser, Beaverboy and Tom. Sorry, not Fraser. Yeah, Fraser, Beaverboy and Tom at the back here. Fraser unfortunately finds himself at the back of the race now, unfortunately. So he's still got a race in front of him, and he's got to remember just to get his head down and try not to think about what happened in the last lap. Try and think about what he's going to do in the next lap. As we are going to jump on board with Legion, who's actually looks like he's just moved up to 11th place. Looks like Elite might have had another slip there as Legion comes to one place, but Elite's got some work. Legion's got some work to do to get himself up, and Elite again with a little slip there we saw. Must be racing on ice skates or something. Elite, he always seems to be sliding off. Either that or his wheel is covered in gravy or something. I don't know why he'd have gravy.
That is often the cause.
Yeah. Sick of getting gravy all over my wheel all the time. I'm sick of it. Legion making the move on Brett there, making a nice easy pass, getting up in front. So Legion making another move up as he comes into the tight hairpin now. Yellow flag in front of us. So we did have an accident. I think it was Lango there. So we'll jump on board with Lango and just review, see what happened to him there. So let's just have a quick look and see what happened to Lango. Really unfortunate for him. So he finds himself coming up to the tight hairpin, going up on the inside of Arbie, and actually makes a bit of contact with Simo. And
he's flipped him like a pancake there.
Yeah, unfortunate for both Simo and Lango. He's actually sitting back and letting Simo at least take the position in front of him. But yeah, certainly not what you want to see happening, and unfortunate there that Lango outbroke himself and took Simo out of the race. Mohammed now has moved up to 2nd place, so he has managed to find himself free, and here's the question you got to ask himself: is Mohammed got enough about him to gain 4 seconds in 3 laps? 4 seconds is quite a gap, but if you think about the pace difference, you know, you look at the time set in there at 126.7. we know Mohammed can get to that 125 area if he really pushes himself. and with Rabid sort of pushing his best at sort of the flat 127 times. Going to be interesting. I've still got my money on Rabid, you know, keeping this. I think the gap's big enough that he'll be able to absorb it, and for Mohammed to be able to drill that gap down and to be able to make the pass is going to be quite a challenge. But he's on a purple sector at the minute, so he's running the best lap time. So it'll be interesting. Legion finds himself up in 8th place, so he's making moves up through the pack as well. Not enough to be able to sort of get into those podium spots unless he really does something amazing between now and the end of the race, but certainly get himself into a respectable place. Got Rabid, Mohammed, Oscar and Elsie still topping out his top 4. Elsie still having a great race, still holding out in these top 5 places. So really good run here from Elsie, who didn't have the greatest of times in the first race, so good to see it's coming back round the other way for him now, and he's getting himself some good position in terms of the standings. Elite hasn't been Elite's day, been flying off here, there and everywhere, and unfortunately again just that consistently being the issue for Elite.
It's what makes him the wild card. You never know exactly which
he could win every race if he didn't fly up.
And that's why I'll always keep saying, somewhere deep inside me is a willingness for Elite.
Yeah, I think one time we'll see in this series and a win for Elite. I'm right to back you up on that. I think that's not too far away from the truth. So we've still got this little pack at the back here with Beaver Boy, Fraser and Lango. Nice little fight here. Rabid finds himself off there. We'll find out what's happened there in a second, but let's have a look at the impact as Mohammed is now right up behind Rabid. And is that mistake going to be costly? I think it is. I think this is a mistake Rabid didn't want to have.
It will be. It's taken at least a lap off that close down, which means Mohammed now has essentially 2 laps to.
Yeah. He's in attack range.
Make that pass.
Yeah, he's in attack range already. So if I was Rabid, I'm normally not an advocate for massively defensive driving, but I would go on the super defensive here, which it looks like he has done. Rabid on that inside line. Mohammed taken the rear line, and I tell you what, I'm gonna quickly flip back unless we're gonna see a pass happening here. Looks like actually good job I didn't flip back. Mohammed's going on that inside. Rabid trying to hold it in for him, still keeping up. He's gonna have the inside line going up into the next turn. So is he gonna be able to keep hold of his first place? Does well to force Mohammed out to the outside of the track, but Mohammed with the cutback. Is he going to be able to make it count going into the next turn? As we go back on board again. Oh no, Rabid has lost it completely and has spun himself out. That's really hard to see. Unlucky there for Rabid. Second to last, just pushing too hard to try and hold himself first. And he was doing really well there, and it's really hard to see that.
It was doing an absolutely fantastic race, and the defensive driving was brilliant in those last few corners just to hold off Mohammed and keep him in the race. But now Mohammed's got the open ground in front of him. It's hard to see anyone else stopping him.
Definitely. Just going to go back and see what originally ate into Rabid's lead, because, like I said, it was heartbreaking that. But we're going to jump back and just have a little look, see what was going on with Rabid when he lost that big advantage he had. So he comes down through the tight hairpin and just loses it completely there, unfortunately, pushing onto the accelerator a little bit early when he didn't quite have that line right. Wasn't enough for him to lose it, but it was enough for him to lose that massive advantage he had. So unfortunate for Rabid there. Let's go back to the race. Rabid now with people amongst him, Simo looking up on the inside of him, and we've got someone very far back at the moment here. Alango must have had another spin off and unfortunately finds himself erasing himself at the back. Got a nice little tight pack in front, just behind, so sort of real tight race happening here for 6th place. A few cars involved in this one.
Now we see some of the original leaders, Legion, Oliveira, now fighting 4th and 5th. And we've got Elite up in 6th, showing that he can play amongst the big boys if he gets some consistency in.
Yeah, definitely.
But in amongst that pack, Oscar and Elsie have been outstanding. They have held on to themselves amongst.
Lost a couple of places there, but once they're up that close, they are going to lose these spaces to them, because these guys do have the pace on them. But you know, this race is testing people's consistency. If you can keep that consistency, because it's such a short race, you've got a good chance of getting a good a result as Mohammed confirms his first place finish. Oscar 0 with a great second place finish. So well done, Oscar. It looks like Legion and Oliviera are going to be competing. Legion just nabs it in front of Oliviera, second, third place. LZ comes in next. Elite comes in 6th. Dejovis, Rapid and Simo coming through neck and neck over the line. Looks like Rapid just managed to get that just in time. And we've got all the other guys coming across the line now. With finally Lango coming down. Want to see him finishing this before the time runs out at the bottom right. Don't think he's going to do it. Come on. He didn't quite go over the line in time, but it still counts. So there's our confirmed results there. So congratulations to Mohammed with his first place finish. I mean, he run really good races on all 3 races. You know, he was the best in terms of the recovery in the second race, trying to work his way up the pack. He'd run a really good first race as well, just keeping himself up there, and obviously that last race was the best one he'd run. But congratulations to everyone who raced today. Everyone sort of did really well. I've had a few sort of unfortunate moments of people making a few mistakes here and there, but outside of that, we've had some real good shows of racing as well. So there's our results for that third and final race. So we've got Mohammed first, Oxford second, Legion third, Oliviera doing really well on those last couple of laps, kind of up to 4th, and LZ in 5th. Let's have a quick look through the lap chart, because I think there's a lot of movement there. You can see specifically that lap there, lap 7, what happened in lap 7. A lot of action happening in lap 7, but you can see already, look at this, Mohammed starting himself off and just slowly climbing himself way up there before eventually taking Rabid for the win. Oscar 0 started himself off in about 5th place, again making some gains, slipping off a little bit, a few places, a bit of fighting he had to do. Actually found himself in 5th come around to the 5th lap, but slowly eat his way up and did really well to finish off in 2nd place. Legion actually started from very last place. He started from the very back of the pack, I believe. You can see there, and Legion worked his way up, so you've got to say what a great run from Legion there, and also to pinch that last spot on the line as well, really well. He looks like he's going to finish that in 4th, but he managed to pinch the spot from Oliviera at the very end. Oliviera himself, again, great race run by him. I think he started in around about 10th or so. It took him a while to get going, still languishing around that 9th, 10th area, but it was really those last few laps he managed to make those gains and get past some people. It looks like there was a lot happening in lap 7 specifically. You can see 2 people in particular. Yeah, unfortunately, one of them was Fraser.
As soon as those 2 people dropped off, I think, Rabbit and Fraser, that opened up the gap a bit for the likes of Legion and Oliviera. As you see in the race line, that's when they both kind of shoot up several places.
Yeah.
As 2 of those 2 of the drivers unfortunately slip off, and it gives them that region. But Mohammed, I'd say that was a win built in 2 races.
Yeah.
He consistently rose himself up the pack in that previous race, put himself in a great position for this race, and again consistently rose. So he basically wore down the rest of the pack over 2 races.
Yeah, no, it was really well done in what was quite a hard race for the front runners in the reverse grid race. So really well done from him. LZ running a good race here. Started off in about 3rd, dropped off a little bit, and finished in 5th. But you know, really good run there from someone who was who I believe he finished last in the first race. So well done there from for LZ. Elite, our boy Elite, who doesn't know where he wants to race and where he wants to finish. You can see him there flashing along the bottom. Managed to actually put in a consistent race for the second half of that race, and managed to climb himself up to 6th there using his pace, which we know he's got. Just be great to see him doing stuff a little bit more consistency. Jovovis finds himself having a good race there, climbing up a few positions, then dropping off a little bit towards the end, but managed to gain from where he started and finds himself finishing in 7th. Rabid, as we saw, ran a great race, leading out in 1st for such a long time, and then we had that heartbreaking slip out on lap 7, 1 lap before the end, and he actually managed to find himself. Looks like they finished in joint 9th place. I don't know what's going on there, but we'll have a look and see what that actually means. Simo in 9th, actually started the race in 9th, had a big slip in lap 4, and then dropped back and then worked his way up a little bit, finished off where he started. So a fair race there from Simo. Tom started off, managed to gain himself a couple of positions, started off in 13th, then gained up a couple of places, slipped back down all the way to 14th around about the middle of the race, and then sort of slid his way back up, finding himself up in 10th place to finish. A great job there from Tom. Arbie Arbie unfortunately found himself back in 11th place, but he did first half of the race. I remember he was doing really well, keeping himself in that top pack. Unfortunately, though, he did have a slip off by the looks of it and tailed off towards the back end of the race. In fact, I don't think there's any major slip off moments. Maybe there in lap 6, but in a general, it's a case of those faster paced races getting in front of them. Fraser's Heartbreak City, as we know, another one of those heartbreaking stories that we saw. Started off in first, held it quite well, then the sort of slipped off around lap 2, then had a major slip in lap 3, which saw him at the back of the race for the remainder. But he did well to draw himself up to 12th by the end of it. Brett, who looks like he got hit by a penalty at the end of there. Brett actually had a bit of a mixed race. He started off in the middle of the pack in about 11th, and then slowly climbed his way up. He actually got himself all the way up to 6th place. Actually, he moved up to 5th in one place of position. Then, unfortunately, it looks like a bad slip and dropped all the way back down to 14th. Beaver Boy, actually running quite a respectable race, starting off in 12th, dropped off a little bit, must have had a bit of a bad slip on that on the second lap, and then slowly climbed his way back up and stabilised, but ultimately due to penalties, find himself back down to 14th. Then finally we got Lango, who started off in 6th place, dropped off a little bit, and unfortunately looks like he had a bad slip there, and the host just ended the game, so I appreciate that.
Perfect timing.
Appreciate that, guys. But yeah, so fortunately we just got to the end of that there, so yeah, we managed to squeeze that in. But that is it for today's stream. And well done everyone really for all the races that are run. I think a special shout out for Fraser, special shout out for Mohammed. I think the shout out for Legion for that last race, going from last to third, was pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, and Oliviera from just dominating that first
that first race and sort of grabbing that pole. So definitely some shout out to individuals there. I think ones that have certainly caught my eye this race. But that is it for this week's race. Any thoughts, Alistair?
I mean, that was a lot more unexpected than I thought it would be, and I came into this expecting unexpected. But it was fantastic racing from 1 to 15. I think the only key difference between the front and the back of the pack were just a few slips, which I think shows the level that everyone was at. So it was well done to all. Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, I think I sort of I'll echo those same points. So I won't say them over again. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in this week to watching round 2 of the Group 4 Sprint series. I think I referred it to Group 3 earlier in the race, but it's actually Group 4. Group 4 Sprint series. This has been round 2. I've been ArbieG. I've been joined by Denchurion. If you've enjoyed today's race and want to take part in races yourself, if you're on GT Sport yourself, you can check the description below and you'll see a link for the Discord for Amigos Racing Team. Be sure to join in. The team caters for people of all skill levels, and we've got all sorts of series and races that are definitely worth taking part in. So if you want to join and take part, please join the Discord. If you just enjoyed the video and just want to watch back some racing, there's a lot of racing videos put out on this channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe, all those other things you're asked to do on YouTube.